up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have a lot to talk about today, some important news to go over, and some awesome plays for tomorrow. So make sure you guys stick around to the end and let us know what stocks you are watching in the comments down below. But Tom, I see BLNK stock is doing pretty good in after hours. What's going on with this one?
Yeah, they are exploding, and a lot of growth stocks did well today, and they actually closed already up 8%, and they're going to open up a lot higher than that tomorrow. Their services revenues increased by 425% year over year. They actually had a record revenue in quarter three of 2021, up 607% over a year period. So that's awesome to see there. Their growth year over year is awesome. They have 3,016 charging stations contracted or sold in quarter three of 2021, which is an increase of 351% compared to last year. And they also came in with sales with some amazing numbers. They came in at 6.4 million versus a 4.68 estimate. So they beat on tons of numbers. They did actually lose on their EPS, but in the end, these sales numbers and the growth was just very exponential. BLNK actually rose, and it was actually so much of an upwards movement that it actually made ChargePoint fly up in after hours as well with a little bit of a sympathy play here.
There we go. So you love to see these electric vehicle charging stocks pop off, but we do know how earnings has been lately. We saw some stocks report good earnings and fall. We saw some stocks report bad earnings and rise, and we've just seen a crazy past couple of weeks. So definitely be prepared for a lot of volatility with one, BLNK, but any other stock that has already reported earnings or that will report earnings soon. But I want to talk a little bit more about BLNK. Tom, it's awesome to see this, upwards growth and explosion in after hours, but we could see over the past year, it has definitely been struggling. So what levels do you have in mind?
Yeah, we actually hit this resistance here right around $41 just a couple of days ago, whenever we had that huge upwards move. And then we ended up hitting that and falling pretty drastically to the downside. So as we fly up here in after hours, you can see that we kind of flew up towards that same resistance. We passed above it very slightly, but there's definitely going to be a big resistance right up here around $42. I would definitely eye that up for the next couple of days. And then possibly even another one up here around $45 that we touched back around like April, you could say like April 8th. So there's definitely a lot of resistances coming up, and hopefully BLNK starts to break these because it's going to be like the third touch now. And man, it's on such an explosive uptrend. I know that they're talking about that infrastructure bill possibly getting passed and signed over the weekend or maybe early next week. And that might even give these charging companies even another boost.
Very true. So I definitely agree with you on your levels that you gave. I would say 45 is a huge resistance level to watch out for. And if it breaks above that, this thing can really run. But all in all, definitely keep this one on your watch list. It has some pretty good news, like Tom said, with the infrastructure bill as well. But Tom, what else is happening in the market?
Yeah, there's actually some pretty interesting stuff still with more earnings going on. Really, these earnings plays have been very crazy lately. We actually had Beyond Meat tumble down 17%, but they ended up closing down 13% today. But man, it was just a very bad move to the downside. Analysts are actually worried about the company's long-term growth, and their third quarter results disappointed investors. A weak and also a weak forecast for the fourth quarter sales did not help at all either. Kind of like what we saw how BLNK went up even though their EPS was bad, but in this case, Beyond is just not looking good right now. Credit Suisse analyst Robert Moskow wrote in a note actually that Beyond could be reaching market saturation faster than expected, which is not a good sign. We can see they're actually breaking some pretty long-term supports, and it's just not looking good for them right now.
There we go. So, yeah, it sucks to see that. A lot of stocks have been just really volatile throughout this earnings season. So, maybe if it falls more, maybe it'll be good for a dip buy. But I want to talk a little bit about Upstart. This stock actually reported some pretty good earnings, but they tanked off. And, when you just go on like a crazy uptrend like we saw with Upstart, sometimes things like this just happen. Like I said, their earnings were pretty good, and, it sucks to see the stock fall, but it should do fine for the long term.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the stocks that are moving up to new highs right now, they're kind of like where Upstart was on their last earnings report. Like Upstart's last earnings actually pushed them up through that resistance and got them on to start this nice uptrend. And now the earnings kind of brought them back down. And like you said, the earnings are really hard to gauge. But, sometimes when the stock goes up so much, it's just kind of due to come down. Like once a stock goes up as much as Upstart has, especially like this one, like from 150 all the way up to 400, that's over a 100% increase. You definitely have to look for some type of pullbacks.
Exactly. Like that's a huge increase. And just look over the past year, it went from 22 up to 400. So it's just like a crazy move. And exactly like you said, when you just have moves like this, you just kind of you gotta be on the lookout for potential pullbacks. So either way, they did report good earnings, which means it should do pretty good in the long term though. So that's good to see. And let's get right into today's member of the day. Today's member of the day is DJ Monkey. So huge shout out DJ Monkey. You are one of the most supportive members in the Stocked Up Discord. Tom and I really appreciate you. So huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for all of your support. We really, really appreciate it. And now let's get right into these momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Facebook to the downside.
Yeah, and with Facebook, go ahead and make them break below this 326 support. I feel like if they fall below that, we could see a pretty sharp sell-off, and hopefully they do, because I'd like to buy them for the longer term with this metaverse stuff.
Yep. All right. With the next one, we have RUN to the upside.
Yeah, RUN, go ahead and make them break out above $58.20, and this is part of that solar/EV charging sector.
All right. With the next one, we have Peloton also to the upside.
Yeah, Peloton's pretty crazy here lately. Go ahead and make them break out above $50.75.
There we go. So we are watching Facebook for a potential day trade to the downside tomorrow, and we are watching RUN and Peloton for a potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, but only if they break only if they break the levels Tom listed. Looking at Peloton, Tom, obviously they took a pretty big hit on earnings, and it looks like they've been holding their ground for the past couple of days, so it doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, it doesn't. And if this ends up being a pretty good support here around $50, I would love to see this stock go on the uptrend either tomorrow or maybe early next week. And the good thing about this one is I feel like we don't even need a huge move. Like we're probably not going to go back up to $80 anytime soon, but man, I feel like we could come up pretty safely, maybe up towards this $55 resistance, or maybe even retest where we tested here in after hours a couple days ago, right around like 53.50.
Yeah, I can see it for sure. Like, of course, not in one day, but over a couple days or maybe even like a week or two, I can definitely see it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, look at how big this earnings move to the downside was. If we go look at this on the daily chart, you can see how it really started to gap down. And unfortunately, we're seeing a few stocks do this lately, like Peloton, Disney's doing it. DraftKings is moving down lately on earnings. We're seeing a lot of stocks start to fall, but it's creating some awesome long-term opportunities. Corsair's in a good spot. And man, I feel like a lot of these stocks are just right now really primed for the longer term. And if you guys are looking to start some longer term portfolios, I feel like you just almost can't go wrong with some of these plays at the levels they're at right now.
You know it. All right, so let's get right into these comments from the previous video. With the first comment, we have Alicia saying, "Hey, Mike and Tom, I am holding shares of Clover at $10 for a while now. What do you think about averaging down?" So, Tom, looking at CLOV, I know we looked at it earlier, and then it looks like they're in at that $10 level. It's just like a tough play. Like, it's okay. It's definitely not for me. It has that like meme slash explosive potential. It's just looking pretty rough right now. I would not average down. I just think that there's a lot of other stocks at great levels right now where your money can be deployed in a better way. But Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually think that it has a pretty good chance to maybe keep going down in the short term. I really hope that some of these supports end up holding up. Like I see a pretty big one, like right around like $6.60. And, there's even another one up here, like right where we're at, like right around $7 even. I feel like Clover could end up bouncing here, but it's not my favorite either. I'm really worried about it breaking this $7 support. And if it does, I'm going to be pretty bearish on it.
Alrighty. With the next comment, we have Alaskan saying, "What do you think about Ford?" So F has been doing pretty dang good lately. It's been on an awesome uptrend, and a lot of like these EV stocks have been doing that. I really like how Ford is adapting to the EV market. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great sign. I like them right now. Do I think that they're going to double in the next year or something like that? Probably not. Like, of course they can. It's just, in my opinion, it's just like a stock that you can buy for some exposure to the EV market. Of course, you have stocks like Tesla, Lucid, but I think Ford is, it gives you, it's like in a unique situation where a lot of these other EV stocks right now have so much hype and their valuations are just crazy. In Ford, like, yes, it's been on a good uptrend, but it's not like crazy overhyped like a lot of these other EV stocks are.
Yeah, that's very true. And, with Ford lately, like you said, they've been really killing it. They've honestly been blowing my mind how they broke above this $18 resistance and now they came up and tested $20. I feel like we could end up pulling back here maybe for a couple of weeks, given how much we went up. But kind of like what we saw right here, we had a huge move up and then we kind of consolidated. I might see some consolidation, but I could see them going up for the next few years. And if we look at them on the max daily, it's very cool to see them finally breaking out of some of these resistances that have been holding up for multiple years.
All right, there we go. With the next comment, we have Frozen saying, what are your thoughts on NCTY? So looking at this one, it has been doing okay. Not the best, we can say. It definitely had an amazing uptrend earlier in the year, but since then it has really just slowed down quite a bit. Like it went from like $2 all the way up to highs of 89. So it really did have an amazing uptrend earlier in the year, but it's definitely slowing down. I feel like if you wanted to play this one, now would be a good time, but honestly, it's just not really a play for me. They're okay, but I don't know. It's just not like a great setup in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems like there's a pretty good support around $10. So maybe if you buy it now, you could maybe just put a stop loss a little bit below that and then just consolidate your losses if it does end up going down, if you really do like it. But I feel like there's some other plays out there like Corsair and others that are doing better. And I see that it's kind of like a Chinese stock or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but whenever I go look at some of these other plays, like Baba is actually looking pretty good lately to the upside. Same thing with like Queb. And man, some of these China stocks are starting to come back alive.
Yeah, for sure. So NCTY is an online game operator in China, and it has the license to operate and distribute World of Warcraft in China. So,
Oh, wow.
it has like that hype, but it's just not really moving right now.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. And since they do stuff with games like that, they could always come out with something and then maybe they'll explode on some random news or something like that. But I feel like it's definitely one to throw on the radar. And I'm glad you asked about it, to be honest. I've never heard about it. And it's pretty interesting.
There we go. So, Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or anything you're watching for tomorrow?
I still can't forget that Rivian IPO, Mike. They actually flew up again today, up 22%, closing at 100 right up around $121.30 here in after hours. It actually had a pretty good turnaround today after kind of tanking off yesterday. So I'm definitely going to be watching this one for the next couple of days. And then also, of course, I'm honestly still going to be watching Blink. I felt like they were in such an awesome setup here on the daily chart. And like we were talking about earlier, if they start to break out above like $45, man, this stock could start to have a pretty nice move to the upside. And we've been seeing lots of stocks move up lately, like Lucid, BLNK, RUN turned around even today. Plug had some awesome moves and actually started to break out. So I feel like a lot of these growth stocks turned around and ended up moving pretty well today after kind of tanking off yesterday.
There we go. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you like our content, make sure to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day, and check out the Stocked Up Discord group. It'll be that first link in the description and the comments down below. It's completely free and you can network with a bunch of other awesome traders. So thank you guys just so much for watching and have a great day.